Vulgar issues.
Some of you have more issues than others. Stephanie, what are you doing here? Didn't you just buy a house yesterday? Congratulations. I didn't expect to see you. Are you not moving?
We're moving in a few weeks.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
We're leasing right now and it's not up until, our lease isn't up till the end of the month and this week is the last week of school for all of the children, so it's a really good week.
Okay, so you're paying for two places right now.
Yes.
Yeah. So here's what we're doing. Have you ever gone to my calendar, Atticus, and it's full? Or like you get a spot on my calendar and then I cancel it on you at the last second? So like poor Atticus, I've canceled the last two with him. Like Friday, Thursday night, late Thursday afternoon, I find out I have to testify in a court case on Friday morning. It's not really an option, right? They don't really ask, hey, would you maybe be available tomorrow morning? They just say, here's where you're going to be tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. So here's what I want, and you'll judge it, not me, but here's where I want us to be different than other real estate companies. Okay. And this is why we have one office and we'll never have two. Okay. And the suggestion's been made 1,000 times that could you put an office in, you name your place? And then the answer is yes, I could. I can put an office anywhere your little heart could dream it would be. Okay. But then we would become just like everybody else. And this is why we're doing this in the mornings. Because just like everybody else means this. Well, I'm going to have to hire a broker for that office. It can't be this. And here's why it can't be this. You can't find me outside of this office. You can't find me a real estate office in the United States that's being run by a highly productive real estate agent. Because like, here's how they say it in sports. Those that can't play, coach. Those that can't coach, referee. Those that can't referee, get the hell out. Okay. Notice Michael Jordan was never a coach. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird tried to do that for like 6 months and they couldn't do it. I have those days. Highly productive agents that are making a lot of money don't go, hey, let me stop doing this and go run a real estate company where I make no money. And you make no money. The brokerage business, the profit margins are for shit. Okay. So 10 years ago, they were 15% of gross revenue. Today, they are less than 3 and trending down. Nobody gets into the real estate brokerage business because to make money. Nobody. Well, some. I'll show you some exceptions to it. Good morning, Zoomers. Weigh in on your chat box, please, so I know that you're with us. So here's what you do. The way you make a lot of money in the real estate brokerage business is you have a whole bunch of agents, thousands, and you charge them monthly fees, as much as you can get away with. And then you keep your cost under control, which is you don't do much. You just hold licenses. Okay. Because the old saying in that business, and I'm going to show you why this is important to you, a little bit of money times a whole bunch of people is a whole bunch of money, as long as you don't spend very much. Okay. So if I opened up multiple offices, and Dwayne and I actually, I'll never forget this. We're driving down to South Atlanta because we're thinking about opening an office, and because Camille keeps saying, oh my gosh, if we had an office in South Atlanta, hundreds of people would join us. And just, there's so much demand. And we're driving down there, and I stop for gas. When I get back in the car, Dwayne looks at me and he goes, you want to do this all the time? Like, I do not. He goes, then we're going to have to hire somebody here to run this. Who are we going to hire? And I go, well, I'll tell you who we're going to hire. The same people that everybody else hires. People that have a broker's license, have been in the business for a while. They're core competent agents and they're not selling anything. And they need a job because they have bills to pay. That's who you hire. And every real estate company in the United States is being run by somebody who never really sold very many homes themselves, but does need to pay their bills. And I don't want to do that. And because of the way the model works, they can't spend any money. How many of you worked other places? Okay. Sound anything familiar to you? Uh-huh. You're just holding my license. Is that fair? Okay. Well, I did sell a lot of homes, more than 10,000. One day I'm going to stop and figure up an exact number so I can start, but it's over 10,000. And I averaged over 850 a year. Okay. So Bob's our top agent. I outproduced Bob's annual production every month. So that's what I tease him. Like, he had a great month last month. Great month. I'm like, last year, he's number 2 in the entire state, 25 million. I'm like, that's nice. What do you do all day? And he worked for me. He did like what Zach and William do. He did delivery work for me when he was a teenager. So he saw it. He knows. I did his annual production every month. So I'm not saying that to big time. I'm saying it to say this. This is about the only place you're ever going to come in contact with that's being run by somebody who actually did it at a pretty high level. I was the number 1 agent in the world twice. Why am I doing this now? That's a pretty damn good question. Because I'm not a retire kind of guy. I'm not. So, and I just got burnt out after 30 years. I was just listing and it just didn't light my fire anymore. Been there and done that. And I don't have to work anymore. So all this means something to you. Why? Well, if we opened up multiple offices, I can only be in one place at one time. And at my age, I don't really want to work 100 hours a week. I did that. I don't really want to go back to doing that. If I did, I'm going to make a lot of money. So I would just go back to listing and selling myself, and then I could work as much as I want. I would make a lot more money. But if I was going to work 80 to 100 hours a week, I wouldn't do it to make no money. Okay, that makes sense? Okay. So we're not going to open up multiple offices because then we would just be like everybody else. We would have somebody who never really did that, managing and coaching that office. The old golfer Lee Trevino had a saying, I'm not taking a lesson from anybody that can't beat me. But in his prime, there were probably only 1 or 2 people on the planet that could beat him. So what are we doing? Well, I tease y'all, when you go to outside CE classes, that bewilders me. Why would you go to a class being taught by somebody that didn't do anything more than what you're doing? Why do you want to hear anything they have to say? Why would I open up an office that was led by somebody who doesn't know any more about this than you do? Why would you have any interest in what they have to say? You wouldn't. In a very short period of time, you'd go, this doesn't really, I'm not getting up and getting dressed and coming to work every day to listen to you. You don't know any more about this than I do. Right. So we're not going to do that. Why? Because there's not anybody else out there I could hire to do this because people like Bob are not going to give up making $1 million a year to come make 50. They're not until they get to a point where they have so much money they don't care. And then they usually just don't want to work. You got to be pretty screwed up in the head to still want to work after that. Okay, so you're here. Well, there's only one of them. Dwayne's like a brother to me, love him to death. But he's never really sold many houses. Jay, I love Jay. Jay has a job. We hire Jay for one reason, not because Jay sold a zillion homes. He's the exact opposite of me. And that's what I wanted. Jay's nice. He's patient. He's extremely core competent. He can show you the core capabilities of being a real estate agent. I cannot. I could. I don't want to talk about that shit. Don't ask me which form to use. I don't care. I don't give a shit. Make one up. Write it on a napkin. That's the crazy stuff I say. I don't know. Atticus, just use whatever makes sense to you. It doesn't really matter. See, I say, that's not really a very good answer. Somebody needs to give you the correct answer. It's not me, Jay, Moxie. I don't know how to use it. You have a problem with it? Don't ask me. I don't know. I don't really care. My CRM was a spiral notebook, and that worked just fine. Now, I'm not supposed to say shit like that today. I don't know. I sold 1,000 houses a year using a spiral notebook. If I had had something like Moxie earlier in my career, would I have used it? Yeah, and then I probably would have used it for the rest of my career. If I was your age, absolutely. But at 62, spiral notebooks work just fine for me. They don't need to for you, but see, I don't think it matters. So we're doing this every morning so that you have access to it. Because like I'm gonna walk out of this room this morning and I mean, I can only, I'm just like you, I can only be in one place talking to one person at a time. If we could hire, this sounds horribly arrogant, I apologize, but if we could hire more of me, we would if we could afford it. Okay. So we got 30, 45 minutes every morning for you to get what you want. Okay. Now I find it very interesting that there's 4 people on the Zoom, 3 people on the Zoom and 6 people in the room, 9 out of 280. Now, what do I know? And of those 280, how many of them are hitting their goals and achieving what they want to achieve in this business? Almost none. Yet 9 are here this morning. Okay. In politics, they say it like this: decisions are made by those who show up. That applies to you too. Okay. But that's why we're doing this in the morning. And that's what I want this to be, a place where whatever it is, it can have to do with your business. Most of the business is mindset. It could be that. It could be the problems you're having. It can be whatever is on your plate that day. Okay. Fair enough. And you Zoomers too. Okay. So what you got? Zoomers, chat in or unmute yourself and just talk louder. That's how we do it on this planet today, right? It's just he who talks the loudest gets the most attention. Okay. What's on your plate? Okay. So let's do it like this, since nobody has any issues. Oh, what you got?
So I am bound and determined to change how I want to get my leads from, right? And so I had been doing FISBOs, expires, cold calling, all that stuff. I'm still doing open houses. I enjoy open houses. However, I am trying to grow my network more, and I know I have to meet 10 people a day. But now on top of that, since I'm meeting 10 people a day or attempting to meet 10 people a day, I'm trying to grow a larger presence on social media. So the problem I'm having is that my business at the moment is kind of at like a stall because I'm changing tactics, because that's what I want to do. What I had been doing, I had some success with, and I'm still implementing those things in the morning, but I have less time for it because I'm trying to do what it is that I feel is right for me.
Okay. So a couple things in there. Okay. First of all, how long have you had a real estate license? Okay. So not even a year yet. Okay. So that doesn't sound crazy to you. You're trying to figure it out. And there's this internal pressure that almost everybody puts on themselves. Like, I need to have it already figured out. Right. Or like I like to say to my golf coach, I'm running out of time here, dude. Okay. Like, I need to win something here pretty damn soon. He goes, we'll get there. I'm like, I'm running out of time to get there. At 62, I only got so much left. So we need to speed this shit up. You ever feel like that? Like I should have it already figured out by now? Okay. Doctors, when they get out of medical school, they force them to go through what they call a rotation, where you spend months in each different kind of specialty. And it's not uncommon for them to go, no, 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 I know what I want to do. And they go, yeah, go through the rotation anyhow. Why? Sometimes you don't know until you go through it. Uh-huh. I thought I wanted to go to medical school when I was in college. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. My parents helped me get a job at DeKalb General Hospital for the summer. And one of the orthopedic surgeons, which is what I thought I wanted to do, kind of took me under his wing. And I never wanted to do that again. After I got to go into the operating room and observe an operation. Oh my God, hammer and chisel, bone fragments flying all over the place, Black and Decker saws. This is carpentry work. Yeah, I never wanted to do that again. I thought I did until I experienced it. The fact that you're in your first year or so and you haven't figured out your thing yet, that's not crazy. There's not something wrong with you. Now let's talk about what might be wrong with you. Not that. Each of us need to be really careful about this, not just Stephanie, but each of us. This level of self-honesty that we have with ourselves. Uh-huh. Do I have full-time goals with a part-time schedule? And the knee-jerk reaction almost always is, no, I'm a full-time agent. Are you? Stephanie, since you were crazy enough to speak up this morning, do you consider yourself a full-time agent? Okay. Do you have full-time expectations? Yes. Expect to get frustrated. Right. Because if what you're saying to me, and I see Stephanie is way too bright to ever say this out loud, but she might feel it. And we're picking on her a little bit, but like each of us has to do a gut check with ourselves. Yeah, but I really want you to show me how to get full-time results working my part-time schedule. See, you're way too bright to ever say that. Yeah, but do you have full-time expectations? Are you working a full-time schedule? Then you're batshit crazy. Well, some people get away with it. That's actually true. Like this many people. You're not Lucky Sperm Club? Well, how well? I mean, like,
Well, just recently said I only need to make part-time money, but
okay,
I
then go make part-time money.
contemplated it. No, this isn't good me.
So you decided to go back to full-time money with part-time schedule.
Now we're
So,
back there.
Zoomers, what do you think? Makes perfect sense, right? They're all shaking their head like, what the hell is wrong with her? Oh, you think the same damn thing. Uh-huh. I don't have answers for that. Right. I call it making your peace with it. I've made my peace with it from your perspective. Claire, have we had some very frank, direct conversations?
Sure.
Have I given you my opinions? Yes, I have. I'll give each of you an opinion. Right, Jasmine? I will. Uh-huh. But it's your life. And this is my making my peace with it. Stephanie, it's your life. It's not my life. Do I think that you have exceptional ability? You won our Rising Star Award, right? Then you turn around and went home. I'm like, well, fuck me. I thought this, but she doesn't want to do that, so it's her life. I can't, I can't do that. I've had to learn the hard way. I can think that you, any of you, all of you have unique ability. All of you don't have unique ability, but some of you do. Some of you don't. Those of you that don't, you're just going to have to work harder than everybody else. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to tell you. Some people were touched by the finger of God. Claire, you're one of those people. Okay. Well, good for you. And y'all should all hate Claire for that. You should, bitch. Um, if you're Lucky Sperm Club, that's great. Good for you. If you were born into money and you don't have financial pressures in your life and you have this unique social network, you're like this many people on this planet. And you can just sell enough really expensive homes to your family and friends. Uh-huh. And I say good for you. If you don't have to work hard because you have an income stream coming into your household that more than takes care of all the bills, I go, okay. I still would like to see you apply yourself, but it's your life. But if you come talk to me and basically say to me, how do I make full-time money with a part-time schedule? It's not going to go real well because I don't suffer that stuff well. I don't. I go, you don't work. Uh-huh. Work. That's the answer to that. So what do I think? I think each of us have to get really honest with ourselves. Who am I and where am I at in my life right now? And where you are in your life right now doesn't mean that's where you're always going to be, but it means for this time in your life, this is where you are. This is what you feel like you could do, and you're going to have to make your peace with it. And this making your peace with it comes in all different shapes and sizes. Watch. If you're a farmer, do you take vacation time during harvest season? What would you say to a farmer that goes, oh, it's October and my crops need to be harvested, but we need to go to the beach because the kids are out of school this week? Maybe you should have thought about that before you became a farmer, right? How about this? How about a minister who wants to take the month of December off? So our head pastor just said he's taking a month sabbatical. I don't quite know what that means. My guess is that's their fancy word for I'm taking a month off and I'm making it sound really good. Okay. Hey, I guess if you're doing that in June, I don't really know that business. I mean, that is a business. That's his job. But that doesn't sound crazy to me unless you did it in December or April. Like, I don't know, if my preacher took a month off at Easter, I might have a problem with that. Well, where's Reverend Norris? It's Christmas. Yeah, he's off. He took a sabbatical at Christmas, like peak time for preachers. Yeah, well, the kids were out of school. Well, maybe he should have thought about that before he became a preacher. Farmers don't take time off during harvest, right? Real estate agents, peak season, like you're in it right now. Okay, we call it real estate guide, REG. Oh, Reg fucking with you all the time. Peak season. Yeah, kids are getting out of school. Well, we really want to take the kids and go to the beach, and I deserve some time off. And I go, absolutely. I'm a big fan of time off. No, you always tell us we should be working. No, I take more time off than any of you. But it is peak season. Farmer doesn't take the month off in October. It's harvest time. And you would agree with that. No, you can't do that and be a farmer. Right. But I want to. I know my preacher wants to take, I heard an interview with Tom Brady. He actually said something that made a lot of sense. They asked him if he's sure that he's ready for retirement. And he goes, I am. And they said, how do you know? He goes, do you know that I have never spent Christmas with my family? And I went, that's right. That's when the playoffs start in the NFL. He's never spent Christmas with his family. Right. He goes, my kids are getting older. I'm kind of looking forward to spending Christmas with them this year. I've never done that before. Yeah, you're a freaking football player. Of course. Well, does that sound crazy that he wants to spend Christmas morning with his kids? It is if you're an NFL quarterback. You should have thought about that before you wanted to be a football player. Everybody's got things they have to make their peace with, except real estate agents, apparently. Except real estate agents. We think we don't have to make our peace with anything, that we can just do whatever we deem to be important. And I go, well, I guess you can, but you're going to pay a gigantic price for that. Take time off to go to the beach now. Unthinkable. Take time off is unthinkable? No, I do. Jane and I went down to the islands for 10 days. Does anybody know when we went? Yeah, the last week of December, first week of January. Why? It's the least impactful time to do it. But you don't have kids. I know. You should have thought about that before you became a real estate agent. Well, you're telling me that I shouldn't take my kids and go to the beach. No, I'm not saying. I'm saying, Stephanie, you have conflict and you're going to need to make your peace with it. I want you to understand the price that you're going to pay for doing that. And if you say, I'm okay with that, it's your life, it's your business. Doesn't impact me. Doesn't impact me one little bit. It might impact you. And if you say, I'm okay with that, I understand the implications of it, that I won't be able to harvest all my crops and some will die out in the field and I'm going to do it anyhow. Then I go, okay, then you made your peace with it. But if you say to me, I don't want any of the crops to die out in the field and I still want to do that, then I think you're crazy. I think you're highly immature, is what I really think. And you're chasing some little fantasy of how you can be a part-time agent getting full-time money. And I want you to either become a full-time agent chasing full-time money or get comfortable with part-time money. Right. But you can't have that conflict going on inside of you all the time. So you've got to be able to step off the planet, look down on yourself, and assess yourself honestly. Where am I in my life? Jasmine, how many children do you have? How many husbands do you have? Is there any other human on the planet that is dependent on you for survival today? No. You had to feed nobody but yourself. Your dog. Okay. Did you have to get your dog dressed this morning? Does your dog ever have an attitude because they didn't go to bed on time last night? Okay. Uh, does your dog ever not want to go to school? Okay. Ever throw a tantrum? Come on. Claire, how about you? What if you tried to live Jasmine's life this morning and Carter would starve to death, right? Uh-huh. And be naked. Is he still in diapers? Okay. But like if he woke up this morning and you and your husband were both already gone to work, would he have gotten up, gone to the bathroom, fixed himself breakfast, taken a shower, gotten dressed, be sitting at home reading a book when you got home about 6 o'clock today? Hi, Mom, what'd you do today? Well, what'd you do, Carter? Well, I did a load of laundry, ran up to the store, bought some things we needed.
I'll do that. My daughter looks in
How about you Zoomers? Okay, so you got to step off the planet and assess where you are. And now some of you have these other obligations and you don't have money that just shows up in your checking account. So like you've got financial burdens, obligations, and it's all on you. Nobody else is going to pay your bills for you. And you've got kids or other people that you have to care for. Okay. That's big boy stuff, big girl stuff. Right. And you're trying to live a life as if you had a spouse pulling in a couple $100,000 a year, taking care of all your financial obligations. You're trying to live that life too, but that ain't your life. That ain't your life. You got to live the life you have. Now, you can be pissed off about it. I often am. Well, I would love to be 6'4". Can you imagine how good I'd look if I was taller? What is it that Bruno Mars said? Is, I'm so hot. What's that song?
Oh,
Called the police and the firemen.
Yeah.
I'm getting off the. You can be pissed off about it that you want to live a life that's not yours. Okay, you crazy too. You as crazy as Stephanie is. So, well, I want to go to the kids' soccer practice tonight. Well, boo-hoo. You're a single parent. You're the only income in the house. I think if you could ask your kids if they could speak like an adult, they'd probably say, hey, mom, I kind of would rather you have to pay the rent than come to soccer practice. Given the choice between the two, please pay rent, buy food, and pay utilities, and don't worry about soccer practice. I think that's what they say if they could interact with you. I think that's what they come back and say when they're like 40. How many people have apologized to your parents? Like, I'm so sorry. I was such a shit. How did you put up with me? Has anybody had that conversation? Because you got old enough to realize, when my parents were my age now, oh my God, and they had to put up with me. Oh my God, I was such a shithead.
it happened to me on Saturday. So but he woke up and I said that I was going to work and I open house. And he was just like, Mommy, today when you go to work, can I go to the bank with Daddy? I said, he already knows that I'm going to work on Saturday and I won't get to spend my Saturday with them.
So you got a little mom guilt going on there.
Absolutely. Well, my mom and dad did that when I was younger, and now I'm so grateful because we had what we wanted, and like now I know the meaning of money, I know the work ethic, all of that kind of thing. So I think if he was to grow up with me around all of the time, he would feel like, oh, well, this is just what parents do, and then he wouldn't have that work ethic.
So that's great advice for the parent guilt complex. And parents have all this guilt, right? It's like if you do one thing wrong, you're ruining the child for the rest of their life. But your parents screwed all kinds of things up and you're relatively okay. Yeah, most of you are relatively okay. Uh, what do you do with all this guilt? Like there's all layers of it that I get to observe these days. Like there's this competition between parents. And it like whoever takes when the school gets out, it's like a race among the parents, not necessarily the kids, but these parents have got to provide the most exceptional get out of school experience for the children.
To do with that as well. Everyone watches what we're doing on social media. I hear that on Clubs. It's like Christmas Day, like everybody posts their pictures of all of the gifts for the kids all piled up, and it's just Christmas. Like to me, isn't about that. So why are you doing that? But it's all about who has the biggest pile, and I hate that.
It's a race.
It is.
But then Claire said something I think is really good for this parent guilt complex that so many people are experiencing. Yeah, I feel bad because of this, but then, and I think this is really a key point. I'm glad you said it. But then when my parents did it for me, it taught me how to be a functioning adult on this planet, which is, I think, what the greatest gift my mom gave me, which is I don't think she thought she was doing it when she did. I think she was trying to pay the rent, is what I think. But I never remember a time in my life when my mom wasn't working at least two jobs. And I don't think she was working the two jobs to, well, I'm going to teach my children a work ethic by doing this. She didn't think of it like that. She thought, we have no money. Right? But in the process, what she taught me was this great work ethic, which served me. That's much better than her coming to my soccer practice. Now, wouldn't it have been great if I'd had a dad that was making $350 a year and he could teach me that, and my mom was at the soccer? Yeah, all that shit was great, but that wasn't my life. And if that's your life, good for you. I hate your guts, but good for you. No, I'm teasing. I don't, I think.
I told my son the other day, and like, I don't care. If they work. I want them to see New York, everything. Of course, he said, I don't care. They have to see this. But I told my son the other day, I said, he's 16. He just turned 16. I said, you're gonna have to get a job. Go look for something. Which I'm actually thinking internship with my brother. I'm thinking big things. Like, I'm not thinking even movie theater, but I haven't told him that yet. And he looked at me and goes, "Do you hate me?" He's like, "What?"
But he's an adolescent. He's just a kid. Right. He wants to stay home and play video games all day. So you know the difference between your 16-year-old and me at 62?
What?
I want to eat ice cream every night. I don't do it. I could, I don't. The 16-year-old left to their own devices, they would. He would play video games every day, all day long. That's called being an adolescent.
I have conflict with, I was raised, my mom, she, would clean toilets on nice weekends to make ends meet, and my husband had a very different life with a stay-at-home mom, and that did well. So now, when we're talking about children getting a summer job, my husband doesn't think it's necessary if they're making good grades and doing sports, and I think it's necessary because they need to know how to be a human being.
You respect your mom for cleaning toilets and doing whatever she had to do. Yeah.
But yes, I do.
Have you ever noticed what happens to children of very wealthy people? That next generation, sometimes it is a curse. It's what happens. It happens too when people win like the lottery, right? It should be this great blessing, and it often turns into a curse. Why?
Because they were raised that way. They were just raised to believe that their parents will always, and parents will always do their best to provide, but they were raised to a certain standard of living, so they will keep that same standard of living for their children because they feel like a different standard of living less.
It's a very uniquely American thing. Americans are so proud of their work ethic. We're proud of being middle-class, hardworking people. You're proud of your mom for what she did. I'm proud of my mom too. My mom had me when she was 15. Shouldn't I be? I spent my whole life being embarrassed about that. Kill you before I let you know that. And now I'm proud of it. I'm proud of her for honoring her responsibility. And I wouldn't wish her life on anybody, but I'm proud of her for what she did. Right? See how we get about our work ethic? I don't want you to work hard to make a lot of money. I don't. And I don't care whether you need to pay bills. If you're working for money, I feel sorry for you. It's going to be a very hollow, you're never going to be able to make enough to feel happy. I want you to work hard. I want everybody to work hard because that's where happiness comes from. Happiness comes from you feeling proud of yourself. And then you'll feel confident. And that's why it's a very American trait. And you respect your parents for that level of effort. But then something happened in the translation where we've lost that. And we're trying to make things easier. And I'm like, I don't want to make it easier. I'm still working. What am I doing here? I watch what happens to people when they retire early, and I don't like it. They get small, mean, disgruntled, grumpy. The guys at my golf club that are all retired in their 50s, early 60s, they're not happy. They get gossipy, they get grouchy, they turn into little Trumpers. They just hate everybody. Uh-huh. What I think is they're not proud of themselves. They're they pursued this ideal of I'm satisfying all my wants and desires in my life. So I'm not going to work. I'm just going to travel and I've got all this money. Like it's not about that. You're not proud of yourself. So I don't care how much money you make. I know you do, but I don't care. I care how hard you try. And the reason I care how hard you try, despite how much money you have coming into your household, whether it's a little or a lot, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Is because that's where your happiness is going to come from. And you're going to be modeling to the other people in your life that you say you care so much about how to be a successful adult on this planet. You are. They're going watching you and they are going to become you. And I don't know whether you think that's good news or bad news, but they are going to become you. They're going to adopt your value system. What is that? And what I can say is what I got from my mom is the ability to get up and go to work every day and work hard. That was a gift. I don't think she was trying to give it to me, but she did. And somewhere something happened where, they call it in business, they call it brain drain. People are retiring as they get, when your peak earning years are going to be? Do you know? 47 to 59. And people are trying to retire in their early 50s now. You just got competent. You just got to be a part of society that can contribute something. Right. And you're dropping out. Brain drain. Right. They're not happy. I got one of the guys, I'll stop here, but one of the guys that lives up the street from me, his name's John. John used to be vice chairman at UPS, number 2 in the world. And I only know that because he mentions it in every other sentence. This is a typical John interaction. Hey, John, how you doing today? Well, when I was vice chairman at UPS, it didn't seem to rain as much. Like literally, the dude, every other sentence drops it in there because he took early retirement because he's got a ton of money and he'll be glad to tell you about it and all the houses he owns. And he so desperately needs people to know who he used to be. Well, John, if life's so great now, you got all this money and you're retired and you own 4 houses all over the world and you can go anywhere and do anything. And why do all you want to talk about is when you were vice chairman at UPS? That's all he wants to talk about. Huh. Not the people he's helping or spending time with now or the places he gets to go and see with his unlimited resources, not any of that. He wants to just constantly talk about when he used to work. Are you a part-time agent expecting full-time money? If you are, you have conflict and you need to work that shit out because that's going to drive you crazy. And it's going to drive me crazy too, as you keep sneakily asking me how you can get away with doing that. And I have no answer for that. Unless you're Lucky Sperm Club, you probably can't. Zoomers? Oh, somebody. We got a Zoomer that weighed in. We got 2 Zoomers that weighed in today. Holy cow. Somebody write this day down. See, Sam, I'm glad your mom honored her obligation. Yeah, me too. I'd be pretty skinny. That's why I'm torturing myself. Yeah, hey, look, here's the truth. And she references it. You can work really hard in this business and not make any money. I did. My wife says this to me from time to time. She'll go, well, they just think this is the way it's always been. I mean, that's at least once or twice a week. Well, they just think this is the way our life's always been. I'm like, really? She's like, right, they've not known us. They didn't know us 30, 40 years ago. They've only known us in the last, I don't know, pick your time, 10 years. I have any fucking money. I don't come from any money. I don't come from anything. I'm the only person on either side of my family that ever went to college. And I barely got out of that. So I'm not highly educated. If you had known me in my 20s, what I say most of the time is thank God I didn't meet Jane until my 30s. She would have had nothing to do with me in my 20s. Nothing. I wouldn't have been here this morning. I wouldn't have been able to get up and get dressed and get here. I wouldn't have even gotten on a Zoom. I wouldn't have made the effort. So where are the other 270 some people? I was one of them. I was. I was one of all of you. You got no situation going on right now that I can't relate with. At some point, you just have to just decide that starting now, not Monday, starting now, it stops. I break the cycle. Starting today, I go to work because it is the one thing all of us could do. Can you work really hard in this business and not make any money? You might. I did. I probably worked for 6, 7 years, didn't make any money to speak of, barely 40 to $50,000. And then I did. Uh-huh. Well, how long will it take for you? I don't know. Maybe you're better than I was. Maybe you're smarter. Maybe you have better soft skills than I was. Maybe it doesn't take as long. Maybe it takes longer. I don't, that's not your question to answer. The question for you to answer is, am I giving maximum effort? And if you're not, I would say, I wish you would. Not because of the money you're going to make. I don't give a shit how much money you make, because you're going to get happier. And that's where happiness comes from you going home on Friday night, being tired, but going, man, I worked hard this week. I did a good job. I gave everything I had this week. I didn't make any money. You might not. It's not fair. It's not fair. Y'all do some crazy math. Well, I want to sell 24 homes this year. I'm like, okay, why 24? Well, it's only 2 a month. I can do 2 a month. I'm like, you're crazy. It doesn't work like that. Like, you're just going to do 2 a month every month. Come on. You're not going to do any some months. And some months you might, I think Bob made $300,000 last month. Not doing it again this month, but April was pretty damn good. I just want you to be happy. And it's not from the clothes you wear, the car you drive, the house you live in. It's not, if you need to do it to prove it to yourself, then go ahead, but it's not. You got time for a 2-minute proof? You could, if you don't, you can drop off or leave. It's fine. Jane and I went to this thing one time recently, a couple years ago, and they were playing a game called the dating game. I hate this shit because I'm just going to make me look bad. Don't, I can tell you now when my wedding anniversary date is. It's October the 17th, but I cannot tell you what year. Okay. So if you ask me what year, you're going to make me look bad and my wife's going to feel like I don't care. I don't give a shit. What difference does it make what year it was? But to her, it should matter. So I'm like, oh, shit. So they take all the women to one side of the house and all the guys to the other side of the house, and they ask them the same questions. What day and year were you married? And then you get back together and who got the most answers right together, that kind of game, right? So they asked, one of the questions was, what was the happiest year of your relationship? Nobody got this. The husband and the wives, well, there were some same-sex marriages there too. The spouses, we were the only spouse in the whole place that got, I'd say 20, 30 couples. We're the only ones that named the same year. Right? Bassett, we got such a chuckle out of that because the truth is I have made a ridiculous, embarrassingly amount of money in this business, more money than I could have never set it as a goal. I wouldn't have been able to think that high. It wasn't that year. It was the year that we had lost everything. I was on the verge of bankruptcy and we were living in this shitty one-bedroom apartment down in Peachtree Corners that year. Really? We had 10,000 square feet on a lake with boats and jet skis, and I took my wife to Paris for dinner on her birthday on a private plane. And she's like, we're just staying for dinner. We can stay overnight if you want to. Not that year. The year we had nothing. And the reason why was because we worked so hard that year. We were so proud of ourselves. We were. It's a much more elaborate story. And so the money, the stuff, the boats, the trips, the planes, the stuff, not that year. It's not the money that makes you happy. If you need to go make a lot of money to prove it to yourself, go ahead. But I know lots of people have a lot of money and you wouldn't say they were happy at all. It's the effort that makes you happy. It makes you proud of yourself. And that's what you want to go for.